They said no one would ever live on that cheap farm again. Ethan Carter whispered to himself as he stepped through the morning mist that draped the fields in silver threads. The air crisp and carrying the faint scent of wet soil and pine from the surrounding woods. The farm looked almost abandoned, the barn sagging, paint peeling from its wooden walls, and the gate creaking with every touch of the wind. But Ethan's boots crunched firmly on the frost-hardened ground, his eyes scanning the landscape with quiet determination, remembering the letters from his grandfather describing hidden corners of the property that no one had checked for decades. Beside him, Blaze, his 6-year-old German shepherd, padded silently, ears alert, amber eyes reflecting the pale sunlight breaking through low clouds, each breath forming small clouds that hung and dissipated in the chill air. Ethan adjusted the strap of his worn backpack, feeling the weight of the old shovel and metal detector he had brought along, and he let his gaze linger on the distant tree line, where morning dew shimmered like scattered jewels, and wondered whether anyone truly appreciated a piece of land that seemed worthless. The village behind the hill had mocked him, calling the farm a joke, a wasted investment. But the dog's nose twitched, sensing something beneath the ordinary, a faint vibration in the soil that seemed almost like a heartbeat. Ethan knelt, brushing frost from the ground, feeling the unevenness beneath his fingers, the subtle shift of earth suggesting more than met the eye, and he glanced down at Blaze, who let out a soft growl, the sound low and resonant, signaling that this was no ordinary patch of dirt. They moved slowly toward the barn, stepping over broken planks and tangled weeds, the sunlight glinting off shards of frost, casting long shadows that danced like silent watchers over the land. And Ethan's heart began to quicken, not from fear, but from anticipation of discovery, a feeling he had chased across deserts and mountains during his years of service, where patience and observation had often meant the difference between loss and survival. Blaze stopped abruptly, paw hovering above a spot near the foundation, sniffing intensely, tail stiff, ears high, and Ethan followed the dog's gaze, spotting a faint outline in the ground that seemed unnatural, as if someone long ago had marked it with a secret only the earth could remember. He dropped to his knees, pressing fingers into the cold soil, tracing the subtle lines that led toward a sunken hatch hidden beneath leaves and frozen debris, the wood old, warped, but intact, a silent sentinel guarding whatever lay beneath, and he felt a thrill ripple through him, a mixture of reverence and disbelief. The wind stirred, rustling dead leaves, carrying with it the scent of old wood and metal, and Ethan breathed deeply, feeling the quiet pulse of history beneath his hands, while Blaze nuzzled the hatch, whining softly, urging him forward, a loyal guide to secrets long buried. And for the first time that morning, Ethan allowed himself to imagine the hidden treasures, the forgotten stories waiting to be unearthed, not for fame or fortune, but for the revelation that sometimes the most ordinary places held the most extraordinary surprises. The frost on the ground began to glisten more brightly as the sun slowly climbed higher, casting long, pale shadows across Ethan Carter's farm, the air carrying a delicate chill that hinted at the promise of spring even as patches of snow lingered in shaded corners. Blaze paced ahead, every paw careful, yet his body tense, sensing the subtle vibrations of the hidden space beneath, ears flicking with precision at the faintest sounds, nostrils flaring to catch scents invisible to the human senses. And Ethan followed, his broad hands brushing against weathered wooden boards, tracing the cracks and grooves that spoke of decades of neglect, his square jaw set in quiet concentration, eyes scanning every detail, every hint that might reveal what had been buried so carefully. And as he adjusted the strap of his satchel, he felt the weight of expectation not as pressure, but as a steady rhythm, a companion to the morning stillness. The barn creaked softly as a gentle wind passed through, carrying with it the musky aroma of damp earth, old hay, and the lingering scent of pine from the surrounding woods, a symphony of subtle details that seemed to guide Ethan toward the small, almost imperceptible hatch that Blaze had discovered. And when he knelt to clear the frost and debris, the cold biting his fingers, a shiver ran through his body, not from discomfort, but from anticipation, the kind that made every nerve alert, every sense heightened. Blaze pawed gently at the edge of the hatch, amber eyes locked on Ethan as if asking for permission, and Ethan nodded, placing his hands firmly on the warped wood, feeling the stubborn resistance of age and weather, then carefully lifting it to reveal a narrow, shadowed passage that seemed to descend into the heart of the earth, the darkness beneath beckoning with a silent promise of secrets long forgotten. The morning light above danced across the frost, creating patterns that seemed almost sentient, while below, the air inside the hatch was cool and still, carrying the faint metallic tang of history and the whispered echoes of time. And Ethan felt a connection to those who had walked this land before, their choices and lives layered beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be remembered. He descended slowly, Blaze following with the careful precision of a seasoned partner, their movements synchronized in a quiet understanding born of years spent relying on each other. And as they reached the bottom, Ethan ran a hand along the stone walls, smooth yet worn, feeling the stories etched into every surface, and the faint glow from a hidden lantern above revealed wooden crates, old ledgers, and artifacts that spoke of a purpose greater than mere material value. A hidden narrative waiting for recognition. Standing there, surrounded by the tangible remnants of the past, Ethan inhaled deeply, the scent of dust, wood, and faint iron filling his lungs, and for a moment, the world above faded, leaving only the bond between man, dog, and the extraordinary secret they had uncovered, a reminder that patience, observation, and quiet courage often revealed the most astonishing truths hidden in plain sight. The underground chamber stretched farther than Ethan Carter had imagined, the stone walls smooth in some places and jagged in others, catching the faint light from the lantern he had carefully hung, creating shadows that danced and shimmered across the old wooden crates, leather-bound books, and glass jars filled with carefully preserved objects. Blaze moved ahead with quiet confidence, ears alert, tail low but stiff, guiding Ethan past stacks of boxes and piles of papers, pausing occasionally to sniff a corner or paw at a loose stone as if indicating hidden details, and Ethan followed with deliberate, careful steps, feeling the cool, dry air that carried the scent of dust, aged wood, and faint iron, mingling with the subtle aroma of aged parchment. As he examined the ledgers and journals, he realized that the farm above had once belonged to a community who had carefully stored not only valuables but stories, records, and inventions that had been meant to survive the passage of time. And the weight of history settled in his chest, not as a burden but as a quiet awe, a sense of connection to lives long gone. Blaze suddenly paused, head tilted, ears pricked toward a section of wall that appeared ordinary at first glance, and Ethan crouched beside the dog, running his hands along the stone until he discovered a narrow seam that hinted at a hidden compartment, the discovery sending a thrill through him, a pulse of excitement paired with deep reverence for the precision and care of those who had built it. Ethan carefully eased the compartment open, revealing a small collection of hand-carved tools, old coins, and a folded map that detailed areas of the property and surrounding lands, each marking a story, a plan, a dream preserved through meticulous work and trust in the next generation. And he felt a soft smile form despite the chill in the air. He and Blaze moved deeper, noticing the subtle shifts in temperature, the faint drafts that hinted at further chambers, and the way the light caught glimmers of metal embedded in the walls, almost like signals, meant to be found by a careful, patient observer. And Ethan felt a surge of gratitude for the dog whose instincts had guided him this far, a silent partner in uncovering what had been hidden for so long. The longer he explored, the more he understood that this was not simply a storage place for wealth, but a sanctuary of human effort, creativity, and hope, carefully concealed beneath the soil to protect its value and meaning. And he allowed himself to imagine the people who had walked these halls before him, their choices echoing faintly through the cool air, guiding him toward discovery. As he moved, Blaze occasionally nudged his hand, pausing to glance back at Ethan as if confirming that the journey together was unfolding as intended, the bond between man and dog reinforcing the sense of purpose and patience. And Ethan felt a calm determination settle within him, knowing that each step revealed more than objects, but a deeper understanding of resilience, foresight, and trust. Finally, he reached a small alcove where an array of old, carefully labeled crates rested, the wood worn smooth by decades. And as he brushed the dust away and lifted the lids, the contents revealed intricate mechanisms, delicate instruments, and a collection of documents that seemed to tell stories of hope, planning, and preservation. And in that quiet moment, the weight of the past, the loyalty of his companion, and the promise of what he had found above and below ground converged into a sense of awe and responsibility that Ethan would carry with him as he prepared to bring this hidden legacy back to life. The faint light from Ethan Carter's lantern illuminated the intricate carvings on the stone walls as he stepped carefully over scattered crates, each one telling a story through faded labels, scratches, and the delicate arrangement of its contents, while Blaze padded quietly beside him, nose low, ears rotating with every subtle shift in air or shadow, his amber eyes reflecting the curiosity and alertness of a creature tuned to sense more than mere sight. The deeper they ventured into the underground vault, the cooler and damper the air became, carrying a musty scent of earth mixed with the faint aroma of aged wood and metal, and Ethan felt the quiet thrill of discovery pulse through his veins, not from greed, but from the awe of connecting with a past that had been carefully preserved and protected, a past that seemed to acknowledge their presence and reward their careful attention. He ran his gloved fingers over a series of old ledgers and blueprints, their pages brittle yet intact, ink faded to a soft sepia tone that spoke of countless hands and long hours devoted to documenting knowledge and value. And he imagined the people who had built and maintained this place, their dedication hidden from the world above, trusting that one day, someone like him would understand the significance of their work. Blaze's ears pricked as he stopped near a low stone alcove, pressing a paw against a seam that Ethan had overlooked, and together they shifted a small stone panel, revealing a hidden compartment containing a collection of handcrafted tools, carefully rolled maps, and small boxes of precious objects, the meticulous order suggesting a respect for both function and legacy. And Ethan could not help but feel a quiet reverence, understanding that this vault was more than a storage space. It was a sanctuary of memory and foresight, a testament to human effort and the intention to preserve for generations not yet born. He carefully lifted each item, letting his fingers trace the grooves and markings, the texture of the aged wood, the smooth coldness of metal, and the delicate folds of paper, each sensation reinforcing the sense that they were walking in a space alive with history, where every corner and shadow had been considered, every object placed with care and purpose. Blaze, sensing the emotional weight of the moment, nudged Ethan with his nose and looked up at him, eyes wide and patient, a silent reminder that they were partners in this discovery, and Ethan felt a warm connection to his companion, appreciating the quiet intelligence and loyalty that had guided him here. As they explored further, Ethan noticed subtle variations in the floor, slight depressions and rises that hinted at additional hidden areas, and he followed the cues with careful steps, listening to the faint creak of the old beams above, the distant drip of water, the rustle of small creatures stirred by their presence, all combining into a symphony of life and history in the subterranean world. Finally, they reached the far end of the chamber where a larger alcove revealed a collection of items that seemed to belong to the everyday lives of the past, cooking utensils, leather satchels, and small hand tools arranged neatly, giving a sense of intimacy and humanity, a reminder that the lives and stories preserved here were more than treasure. They were connections, lessons, and echoes of people who had loved, worked, and dreamed, and in that quiet, shadowed space, Ethan felt the profound responsibility to honor and share the hidden legacy, carrying both the weight and the privilege of understanding the depth of what had been entrusted to them, while Blaze settled at his side, ears flicking, alert and faithful, a constant companion in the silent, awe-filled journey through time. Ethan Carter adjusted the lantern, the soft glow illuminating rows of crates and artifacts that seemed to whisper stories of the past, and Blaze nudged forward, amber eyes fixed on a faint glimmer beneath a pile of leather-bound journals, his ears swiveling at every sound, each tap and rustle amplified in the still air of the underground chamber. Ethan moved carefully, feeling the cold stone beneath his hands, tracing carved symbols and worn edges that hinted at long-forgotten craftsmanship. his breath shallow with anticipation, the quiet excitement weaving through the cool air as he uncovered more crates, each containing items meticulously preserved, from hand-forged tools to old photographs faded to soft sepia tones, telling stories of lives once lived with purpose and care. And he paused to run a hand over a particularly well-worn box, imagining the hands that had placed each object with thought and precision. The dedication echoing across decades. Blaze let out a low, questioning whine and pawed at a narrow gap between two stacks of crates, leading Ethan to a section of the wall that seemed ordinary until he noticed the subtle outline of a hidden compartment, the edges weathered but intact, and carefully, with steady fingers, he pried it open to reveal a collection of maps and letters, each documenting plans and ideas for the land above, the farm and surrounding fields. The careful notations speaking to a vision that had waited silently for discovery, a story that only someone patient and observant could follow. The chamber seemed to breathe as Ethan explored, the faint drafts carrying the scent of earth and aged wood, and he felt the profound weight of connection to the people who had come before, their legacy entwined with the soil, the stone, and the hidden treasures they had carefully stowed away. Blaze pressed close, nudging Ethan with his nose, a reminder of shared purpose, and Ethan could not help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the dog whose instincts had guided him here. The bond between them solidified in the quiet discovery, every subtle movement and sound reinforcing their trust and synergy. They continued through the narrow passages, discovering additional alcoves with objects preserved as if awaiting this very moment, small personal items, handcrafted tools, and notes detailing aspects of daily life, intertwined with visions for the future, the human touch evident in every detail. And Ethan marveled at the care and foresight that had gone into safeguarding these fragments of the past. The farther they explored, the more a sense of wonder and responsibility settled over him. Understanding that these treasures were more than material, they were lessons, memories, and the quiet hope of those who had labored to leave a lasting mark. In this subterranean sanctuary, he felt the convergence of history, loyalty, and discovery, the ambient light catching on metallic surfaces and wooden edges, casting gentle reflections that danced across the walls, and he realized that the farm above was more than land. It was a living story, now entrusted to him and his faithful companion, and the realization filled him with quiet resolve to honor and protect the secrets they had unearthed. Every breath a meditation on patience, observation, and the subtle miracles hidden in places often overlooked. Ethan Carter took a slow, steady breath as he stood amidst the rows of crates and artifacts, the underground chamber stretching around him in a muted glow of lantern light, the air rich with the scent of earth, aged wood, and faint metal, and he felt a profound sense of quiet reverence, each step and movement deliberate as he traced his fingers along carved patterns, worn edges, and the faint markings of hands long gone. Blaze padded beside him, alert and attentive, tail low and body coiled with anticipation, amber eyes scanning every shadow, every flicker of movement. And when the dog paused and sniffed at a corner where the floor met the stone wall, Ethan knelt and felt a subtle draft, the cool air, carrying a whisper of hidden space. And he realized that the chamber held more than what lay in the crates, more than the carefully preserved tools and documents, that the very structure itself was a message, a story embedded in stone and wood. Moving with care, Ethan shifted aside a heavy crate to reveal a narrow passageway concealed behind the wall, the light from his lantern revealing the faint texture of bricks and mortar, and the sense of anticipation surged through him, a blend of curiosity and awe, the kind that makes the heart beat faster and the mind sharpen. Blaze stepped forward first, pawing gently at the floor as if testing the ground, and Ethan followed, every sense heightened, listening to the echo of their movement in the silent, cool air, feeling the weight of history in every breath, the gravity of discovering a secret preserved with such care and patience. As they navigated the passage, Ethan noticed subtle variations in the floor, tiny indentations, and grooves that suggested more hidden compartments, and he felt the thrill of anticipation, a quiet excitement that built with each careful step, understanding that this place was not merely storage, but a sanctuary of memory, foresight, and quiet legacy, and the responsibility of holding such knowledge settled over him in a calm, reverent weight. Blaze paused again, ears pricked, eyes fixed on a section of wall that appeared ordinary at first, and Ethan knelt to examine it, running his fingers over the cold, rough surface until he discovered a faint seam, barely perceptible, that revealed a small, hidden niche, inside which lay a collection of hand-carved objects, maps, and carefully labeled boxes, each telling stories of vision, care, and human ingenuity. He took a deep breath, appreciating the meticulous preservation, the quiet patience, the thoughtfulness that had gone into safeguarding these treasures for decades, the work of hands that trusted future generations to understand and honor them. And Blaze nudged him gently, reminding him of their shared journey, the loyal presence that had guided him this far. And Ethan felt a profound sense of connection, not only to the past, but to the present, too. The bond between man and dog, to the land above and the secrets it held. And he realized that every discovery, every careful move, every detail noticed was a meditation in gratitude, patience, and quiet wonder, a testament to the unseen miracles that lay waiting for those who look with careful eyes and a faithful heart. Ethan Carter carefully examined the small alcove Blaze had indicated, the faint glow of the lantern casting long shadows across the stone walls, and he could feel the weight of history pressing gently against his consciousness, a quiet hum of anticipation vibrating through the air. Blaze sniffed at a bundle of papers, his amber eyes sharp, ears high, and tail low and tense, guiding Ethan to uncover a set of documents tied with faded ribbon, their edges frayed but text still legible, containing meticulous notes, diagrams, and hand-drawn maps detailing the farm above and surrounding lands, each page revealing thoughtful planning, resourcefulness, and care, a testament to the lives that had nurtured this property and preserved its secrets with intention. The cool, still air carried the faint aroma of aged paper, dry earth, and a subtle metallic hint from the lantern's brass, intertwining to create a sensory tapestry that seemed to connect Ethan to every hand that had touched the papers decades before, and he traced each line and annotation with reverent fingers, appreciating the care and foresight that had gone into creating this hidden archive. Blaze nudged him gently, as if reminding Ethan of the importance of patience and observation, and he felt a surge of gratitude for the dog's unwavering presence, the silent intelligence and instinct guiding them deeper into understanding. And Ethan moved slowly, deliberately, aware that each step was a partnership with the past, each discovery a quiet revelation. As he explored further, he noticed the subtle layering of the vault, small compartments concealed within larger ones, some holding tools, others holding objects whose function or significance could only be guessed at, all placed with thoughtfulness and precision. The organization suggesting a desire to protect, preserve, and communicate across time. He carefully lifted one crate, finding hand-carved instruments, delicate metalwork, and leather-bound ledgers, the craftsmanship immaculate and the care evident in every detail. And he imagined the hands that had created and placed them, the intention behind each object a whisper through the decades. Blaze sat at his side, alert but calm, ears flicking at every sound, eyes bright with intelligence and trust. A reminder that they were not alone in this silent world beneath the farm, that together they were uncovering something greater than themselves. Ethan allowed himself a slow, deep breath, feeling the cool air expand in his lungs, the quiet hum of the earth beneath, the faint echoes of footsteps long past, and the subtle thrill of connection that comes from understanding a story preserved by time and care. He moved from crate to crate, tracing inscriptions, noting sketches, and handling objects with gentle reverence, feeling a quiet joy in each discovery, a sense of awe in the precision and thoughtfulness of those who had hidden these treasures. And he knew that the significance of this place was not measured solely in objects or wealth, but in the stories, knowledge, and human ingenuity carefully woven into the very fabric of the vault. Finally, he paused in the center of the chamber, Blaze lying nearby with head resting on Paws, ears alert, eyes watching Ethan with quiet patience. And Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose, a quiet understanding that their journey was more than a search for hidden items. It was a connection to history, a bridge between the past and the present, a living testament to patience, care, and the quiet miracles that lie waiting for those who observe closely and remain faithful to discovery. Ethan Carter carefully stepped back from the crates he had been examining, allowing his eyes to take in the full expanse of the underground chamber, the flickering lantern casting warm, dancing light across the stone walls and revealing the subtle textures of mortar, worn stone, and decades-old dust. Blaze moved ahead with deliberate grace, sniffing the air and occasionally pausing to press a paw against the floor as if confirming hidden details, his amber eyes alert to the faintest movement. And Ethan followed with a sense of quiet anticipation, feeling the cool, dry air brushing against his skin, mingled with the earthy aroma of aged wood and the faint metallic tang that seemed to permeate every corner of the chamber. He approached a section of wall that appeared unremarkable at first glance, but Blaze's insistent stance and low, soft growl drew his attention to a barely noticeable seam, and with careful hands, Ethan shifted the stone to reveal a hidden nook containing small, intricately carved boxes, each one meticulously labeled and containing objects that seemed both practical and ceremonial, the craftsmanship exquisite, reflecting the care and thought of their creators. As he gently lifted one box, he discovered a collection of old tools, maps with annotations in careful, flowing script, and journals detailing activities and events from decades past, each page imbued with a sense of purpose, a chronicle of planning and preservation that had survived the passage of time. Ethan traced the lines of ink with reverent fingers, feeling the subtle grooves where pens had once moved, and he marveled at the patience, foresight, and diligence evident in every entry. Understanding that this vault was more than a storage space, it was a testament to human effort and the desire to safeguard knowledge and treasures for generations not yet born. Blaze settled nearby, tail low but wagging gently, eyes fixed on Ethan as if silently offering approval and reassurance. And Ethan felt the bond between them deepen, an unspoken partnership that had guided him safely through discovery, intuition, and the careful navigation of hidden spaces. Moving further into the chamber, Ethan noticed the careful arrangement of objects, the order and placement suggesting a deep respect for both function and memory, the subtle layering of crates and compartments creating a rhythm of exploration that demanded patience and attention, and he allowed himself to be fully present, absorbing the details, the textures, the ambient sounds of distant drips, the faint creak of supporting beams, and the whisper of his own breath echoing softly. In the cool air, every discovery reinforced the sense of wonder, the quiet thrill of uncovering secrets long protected, and he imagined the hands that had placed each item with care, the minds that had anticipated the future, and the quiet hopes embedded in each choice. As he carefully documented the findings in his mind, and with gentle notes, he recognized the deeper significance of the vault, not just as a repository of objects, but as a living archive of human ingenuity, foresight, and the enduring value of attention, patience, and careful stewardship. In the dim, flickering light, with Blaze at his side, Ethan felt a profound connection to the past, a deep appreciation for the quiet miracles hidden beneath the ordinary farm above, and a renewed sense of purpose to honor, preserve, and share the discoveries responsibly, understanding that each artifact, each carefully hidden detail, represented not only the people who had come before, but the enduring possibility of hope and insight for those willing to look closely and tread with care. Ethan Carter stood in the dim glow of the lantern, letting his gaze sweep over the hidden chamber one final time, the layers of crates, tools, maps, and journals now fully revealed, each item telling a story of care, foresight, and intention that had waited decades to be rediscovered. Blaze shifted beside him, tail low but eyes bright, pressing close to Ethan as if sharing in the silent reverence of the moment, and the gentle rhythm of their breathing filled the quiet space, mingling with the subtle echo of the distant drip of water from the stone ceiling above, creating a sense of calm and completion. Ethan moved slowly toward the hatch that led back to the surface, running his fingers along the smooth wood and cool stone, memorizing each detail, appreciating the thoughtful placement of every object, the care that had ensured the preservation of both practical tools and personal mementos, and he felt a quiet gratitude for the generations who had trusted him to find, understand, and respect what had been hidden. As he climbed the narrow passage, Blaze leading with careful steps, the light above grew brighter, filtering through the opening and casting a soft glow across the frost-covered floor of the barn. And Ethan inhaled deeply, the scent of fresh air and pine mingling with the earthy aroma that had clung to him from the chamber below, creating a sensory bridge between the past and the present. Once outside, he paused, looking back at the entrance, imagining the hands and minds that had constructed this underground world, preserving their vision, their tools, and their stories for someone who would recognize their value. And he felt a deep connection to the lineage of care and thoughtfulness that had preceded him. Blaze nuzzled against his leg, amber eyes shining with quiet intelligence, and Ethan smiled, knowing that the dog's instincts had guided him not only to the physical treasures, but to a deeper understanding of patience, observation, and the subtle ways in which one generation can safeguard hope for the next. As he stepped across the frost-covered ground, the morning sunlight catching on the barn roof and glinting through the broken boards, he felt the weight of responsibility and the excitement of discovery intertwining. A sense of purpose renewed by the realization that he now held the keys, literally and figuratively, to a hidden history that could shape the future of the farm and perhaps the community around it. The air was crisp, the wind soft against his cheeks, carrying the distant scent of pine and earth, and with each careful step, Ethan reflected on the lessons of diligence, care, and quiet courage embedded in the chamber below, understanding that true value often lies in the unseen and that the greatest treasures are sometimes measured not by wealth alone, but by the thoughtfulness and intention behind their preservation. He glanced down at Blaze, feeling the loyalty and trust emanating from the dog, a reminder that discovery and partnership are inseparable, and together they walked toward the farmhouse, each movement deliberate, each breath a quiet celebration of revelation and gratitude, the frost crunching softly beneath their boots, the farm above now transformed in their minds from a simple, overlooked plot of land to a living story waiting to be honored, shared, and carried forward with respect and care. And in that quiet, luminous morning, Ethan felt the culmination of patience, observation, and fidelity, the subtle miracles that arise when one remains attentive, faithful, and kind throughout the journey of discovery. Ethan Carter stepped into the soft morning light that filtered through the broken boards of the farmhouse, the frost sparkling like scattered diamonds across the fields, and Blaze trotted beside him, tail low but wagging, ears alert to every sound and movement, the crisp air carrying faint scents of pine and damp earth from the surrounding woods. He walked slowly, absorbing the transformation of the farm in his mind, seeing it not just as land, but as a living story layered with history and care. The invisible presence of those who had hidden the treasures below lingering like a quiet blessing, and he felt a deep sense of connection to every hand that had preserved and protected what lay beneath. Ethan paused near the barn, letting his gaze linger on the subtle undulations of the land, imagining the countless hours of labor, thought, and planning that had shaped it. The meticulous attention to detail mirrored in the hidden vault they had uncovered, and he ran his fingers along the weathered wood of the gate, feeling the grain and the age, the subtle lines telling stories of endurance, resilience, and foresight. Blaze sniffed the air and looked back at Ethan with patient, knowing eyes, the silent understanding between man and dog reinforcing the gravity of the morning, and Ethan felt a profound gratitude for the companionship, loyalty, and guidance that had carried them through the subterranean journey, through the narrow passages and shadowed corners, and into the quiet revelation of preserved history. As he moved across the frost-kissed field toward the farmhouse, the wind whispered softly through the trees, carrying with it the distant sounds of birds, the rustle of leaves, and the faint hum of life awakening in the early hour, each detail grounding him in the present even as his mind replayed the discoveries below. The careful arrangement of tools, maps, journals, and personal artifacts, each imbued with intention and human care, and he felt the weight of responsibility to honor them. The farmhouse loomed ahead, sunlight glinting through cracked windows, casting long, soft shadows across the snow and frost, and Ethan realized that this ordinary exterior now held extraordinary significance, a vessel for stories, ingenuity, and patience that had been entrusted to him. And he approached the door with deliberate steps, aware of the quiet power of observation, thoughtfulness, and the silent miracles that often lie hidden in plain sight. Blaze padded in front, sniffing and nudging the boards as if testing the space, and Ethan smiled faintly, noting the way the dog's instincts had led them not only to physical treasures, but also to the profound understanding of care, foresight, and continuity across generations. Stepping inside, he felt the warmth of the farmhouse contrast with the cool underground chamber, the familiar sense of wood, dust, and lingering smoke mingling with the crisp morning air, and he allowed himself a moment of reflection, appreciating the continuity of life, the layers of human experience preserved in hidden spaces, and the subtle joy of discovery shared quietly with a loyal companion. He moved through the rooms, imagining how each space above connected to the secrets below, the echo of history resonating softly. And as Blaze padded along beside him, ears twitching at every sound, Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose, a quiet exhilaration that came from uncovering, understanding, and committing to preserving the unseen legacy, knowing that the farm, the vault, and the trust of those who came before now rested in his care, and that patience, observation, and loyalty had revealed a quiet, enduring miracle ready to shape the days ahead. Ethan Carter stepped outside as the morning sun climbed higher, casting long, warm streaks across the frost-laden fields, and Blaze trotted beside him, ears alert, tail sweeping the snow-covered ground with a calm energy that matched the gentle rhythm of the awakening farm. Ethan paused near the edge of the property, eyes scanning the rolling hills and distant tree lines, each contour of the land now resonating with the hidden stories they had uncovered below, and he felt a quiet awe at the connection between the surface and the secret world beneath, as if every blade of grass, every stone, had been waiting patiently for this moment. The air was crisp and carried the faint scent of pine, damp soil, and the distant warmth of the farmhouse chimney, blending to create a tapestry of sensory richness that seemed to whisper of past and future, of the lives intertwined with the land and the care taken to preserve it. As he moved across the fields, Blaze occasionally paused, sniffing the wind, pawing at the frost-covered earth, alert to subtle vibrations and scents that guided them, a constant reminder of the dog's keen perception and unwavering loyalty. And Ethan felt a surge of gratitude for the companion who had not only led him to the hidden vault, but shared in the quiet understanding of its significance. He reached the barn and placed a hand on the weathered wood, feeling its grain, the subtle indentations from decades of labor and exposure to the elements, and he considered the legacy of the people who had created the underground chamber, preserving knowledge, tools, and artifacts with thoughtfulness and trust, their intentions transcending time to speak directly to those attentive enough to notice. The wind stirred gently, carrying with it the distant calls of birds and the rustle of leaves, and Ethan walked slowly, absorbing the morning light, the textures of the farm, and the quiet beauty of the frost sparkling like tiny crystals across the landscape, each detail reinforcing the sense of wonder, responsibility, and connection that had grown steadily since their discovery. Blaze nudged him gently, looking up with patient, intelligent eyes that reflected trust and understanding, and Ethan knelt to run a hand through the snow near the hatch entrance, feeling the subtle difference in the ground that hinted at the careful planning and effort involved in concealing the vault, imagining the hands that had once placed each object with meticulous care and the anticipation that someone would one day find it and honor its significance. As he rose, the sunlight caught the edges of the barn, the farmhouse, and the surrounding fields, creating a glow that seemed almost ethereal, a visual echo of the discoveries below, and he felt a deep sense of completion, a quiet celebration of diligence, patience, and observation. Moving slowly back toward the farmhouse, Ethan reflected on the journey, the bond with Blaze, and the lessons of trust, attentiveness, and respect for what has been hidden and preserved. And as the dog padded alongside him, ears twitching and eyes alert, he knew that this morning, this land, and the careful secrets beneath it had transformed from ordinary farm into a place of wonder, a space where the past met the present, and where the quiet, enduring miracles of human care, foresight, and loyalty could be appreciated, honored, and carried forward for generations to come. Ethan Carter lingered at the edge of the farmhouse, the warm morning light now stretching across the fields and glinting off the frost that still clung to the grass, casting tiny prisms of color that danced like scattered jewels. And Blaze stood beside him, tail low but gently sweeping, ears alert, eyes scanning the horizon with unwavering attention. Ethan breathed in deeply, the crisp air carrying subtle notes of pine, damp soil, and the lingering scent of the barn, each element grounding him in the quiet majesty of the land and the history hidden beneath it. And he felt a profound sense of responsibility mixed with awe, understanding that what they had uncovered was not merely physical treasure, but a preserved legacy, a careful act of foresight and human ingenuity waiting to be appreciated. Moving slowly along the frost-tipped path that led to the old orchard, he noticed how each tree cast long shadows that stretched across the ground like silent sentinels, their bare branches swaying gently in the soft breeze. And he reflected on the hands that had planted, nurtured, and tended this land over decades, their labor invisible yet tangible in every contour, every subtle curve of the earth, every carefully placed stone. Blaze padded ahead, sniffing intermittently, then glanced back at Ethan with intelligent, watchful eyes, and he felt the silent affirmation that they had done more than uncover a hidden vault. They had connected with the lives, hopes, and intentions of those who had trusted the future to patience and careful stewardship. Ethan paused to examine a section of the orchard where the ground had been slightly raised, frost glimmering along the subtle mounds, and he imagined that the careful placement of roots, stones, and soil might mirror the deliberate effort that had gone into preserving the underground treasures. Each decision layered with thought, consideration, and care, and he felt a deep sense of continuity. The land above echoing the secrets below, the distant hum of the farm waking, the faint clatter of tools, and the gentle rustling of branches in the wind created a quiet symphony that matched the rhythm of his thoughts, and he moved with deliberate steps, savoring each detail, from the texture of frost under his boots to the soft glint of sunlight on the wooden fence posts, appreciating the harmony between past and present. Blaze paused at the edge of a small rise, amber eyes fixed on a particular point where the sun struck the earth in a narrow beam, and Ethan followed, noticing the subtle difference in the soil, the gentle slope, the way the light seemed to highlight a hidden feature, and he realized that even the surface bore clues, a reflection of the careful observation that had led to the underground discovery. Walking slowly back toward the farmhouse, he allowed his gaze to sweep over the expanse of land, each field, fence line, and orchard row now alive with meaning, connected to the hidden treasures, the stories preserved in silence, and the enduring intention of those who had come before. Blaze trotted beside him, head low, tail sweeping the frost, a constant presence of loyalty and insight, and Ethan felt a swell of gratitude, not only for the companion who had guided him, but for the quiet lessons in patience, attentiveness, and respect for what is hidden and preserved. As the farmhouse came fully into view, bathed in the soft glow of late morning, he understood that the journey had changed not only the farm but himself, instilling a sense of reverence for the past, responsibility for the present, and hope for the future. And together, he and Blaze moved forward across the frost-kissed field, carrying the silent, enduring weight of discovery and the quiet, miraculous inheritance of care, foresight, and human intention. Ethan Carter paused at the crest of the gentle hill overlooking the farmhouse and the sprawling fields, the late morning sun casting a golden glow across the frost-speckled grass, highlighting the delicate patterns of ice that clung to the tips of each blade and the subtle shadows of the distant trees that framed the property. Blaze trotted alongside him, tail sweeping low, ears flicking at the soft whispers of wind carrying the scent of pine, damp earth, and the faint aroma of wood smoke from the farmhouse chimney, and Ethan felt a profound sense of calm settle over him as he surveyed the land that had transformed from ordinary farmland into a living narrative of history, care, and hidden purpose. He knelt briefly to brush his hand over the frost, feeling the solidity of the earth beneath, imagining the countless hours of careful labor, planning, and thoughtfulness that had led to the preservation of the underground chamber, and he marveled at the ingenuity and foresight of those who had entrusted secrets to time and soil, leaving a legacy that could now be honored and protected. Blaze paused to sniff a familiar spot near the barn, nose tracing the faint scent of the hatch, eyes meeting Ethan's with a silent reassurance, and Ethan smiled faintly, aware that this loyal companion had guided him not only through physical discovery, but also through the delicate understanding of patience, observation, and trust, the quiet virtues necessary to appreciate the depth of what lay hidden. The wind stirred gently, carrying with it the distant murmur of birds, the rustle of leaves, and the soft creak of the old barn, creating a serene symphony that complemented the sense of reverence that filled the air. And Ethan moved slowly along the path leading back toward the farmhouse, allowing each step to be deliberate, mindful, and in tune with the rhythm of the land and the unfolding narrative of its past. He glanced back once more at the slope where the frost glittered like tiny crystals in the sunlight, reflecting on the discoveries below and the meticulous care that had gone into preserving each artifact, map, and document. And he felt a quiet awe for the hands and minds that had worked in secrecy to protect knowledge, utility, and stories for generations yet to come. Blaze pressed close, nudging Ethan's leg gently, and the gesture was a reminder of the partnership that had guided the day, a bond built on trust, intuition, and loyalty that mirrored the respect and patience embedded in the hidden vault. The dog's presence reinforcing the significance of attention and care in every aspect of discovery. Ethan continued across the fields, the farmhouse now fully illuminated in warm light, each shadow and contour of the landscape speaking to the intertwining of surface and subterranean stories. And he felt a sense of responsibility mingled with gratitude, understanding that the farm, the vault, and the trust of those who came before now rested with him, and that his role was to honor, preserve, and share the hidden legacy thoughtfully. Pausing at the farmhouse steps, he inhaled the crisp morning air, feeling the blend of scents, textures, and sounds that connected him to past, present, and future, and he allowed a quiet smile to form, appreciating the profound lessons in patience, foresight, and the enduring value of subtle miracles, the kind that emerge for those who remain attentive, faithful, and kind. And with Blaze at his side, he stepped forward onto the porch, feeling the warmth of the sun, the weight of responsibility, and the gentle reassurance of companionship, carrying with him the quiet knowledge that discovery, care, and loyalty had transformed an ordinary farm into a place of wonder, connection, and enduring legacy.